Hey, it's Frank here with 4D Honeybee, and it's September 17th, and I'm going to do an inspection of my middle hive, which is the struggling hive, and I'm going to just rearrange the brood to make sure the brood is in the lower chamber. I'm hoping there's going to be enough bees to have the 2 boxes through the winter, but if they're not, we'll just use a lower box. But one thing I want to observe here is that they say that the activity going in the front of the hives is not necessarily indicative of the health of the hives. But here it is perfectly indicative. If you watch for a bit, you'll see that hive number 1 here, the one on the left, where is it? Right there, has the most activity. It's the healthiest hive. Hive number 3 is the next healthiest hive, and hive number 2 is the one that's been struggling. And all year, it's been just like this. All year, the hives with the most activity have been the healthiest ones. And again, that's not necessarily the case, but that is the case for at least my operation this year. I'm here with my lovely assistant Isabel and our lovely dog, Tower, who's tasting the local grasses to make sure they're good to eat. Right, Tower? Good boy. All right, so just join me in the inspection of number 2 hive, and we will start feeding them with 2-to-1 sugar water, which we have right there. And hoping they have another week to hatch some more brood, and hopefully have enough bees to make it through the winter. Okay, so we're going to start on hive number 2 here. It's a gorgeous day in the Toronto area. It's 28 degrees Celsius, which is about 88, 90 Fahrenheit. Yeah, and the bees are really active. We've gotten lucky in September because September has been the best month we've had of the summer. It's not really summer yet, is it? It's really more like it's fall. But this is the first time we've had more than a few continuous days without rain. Temperatures are at or slightly above normal. And that's the only thing that's given this hive a chance to survive. This hive went queenless on me, and I requeened it on September 4th, which is just about 2 weeks ago. And so I'm hoping that we'll see some of the new queen's brood in there. It should be being capped by now. And I put 2 frames of brood from the other hive in here. So I fed them about 5 days ago, and they haven't taken all the food. That's not, oh geez, and there's a lot of mortality there. That's very strange. That has never happened before. So I'm going to show you, normally these bees take up this sugar water like there's no tomorrow, and because of the makeup of this feeder, there's absolutely no mortality. The bees are able to walk down to the feeder and have it no problem. But here you can see an entire rim of dead bees at the bottom of that feeder. So I'm going to try and figure out why that is. Again, it's just this hive has just been a mystery all year long, and the mystery continues to be. So we'll see what we can do, because that water, that sugar water, that feed was in there for just under a week, 5 days, and they should have finished it off completely. We'll check out this hive beside it over here, put the same amount of feed in that hive, and that I'm sure will be completely empty. But anyway, we've got to figure out what's wrong with this hive, because it might not stand a chance of making it through the winter. We're going to feed after we do the inspection. Yes? Now there's some water in here, unless I spilled it off the lid. Maybe they're having humidity issues, but because they're not in winter now, we'll see on the inside of the lid if there's any humidity in there. But you know what, I'm going to remove the feeder first. And here you can see all the dead bees in it, right? You can see at the rim there. That's very unusual. In all my 2 years of feeding bees, I've never had one bee die in this feeder. It's very odd. Alright, so again, this hive continues to be a challenge, but now we're going to just, you can see there's a bunch of water inside here, but that must have happened when I took off the lid. So let's see what's going on inside. Inside, I'm hoping to see that there's a lot of bees, and that's not bad for a second brood chamber. Now last time I saw the queen up here in the second brood box, she started laying here because I put a frame of eggs in here. And so she must have thought that was the place to start. So I'm going to take that frame now and move it into the bottom box I put a second frame of eggs in the bottom box anyway, hoping that she'd move and stay down there. The plan for this hive, the plan for all of my hives, is to have the second brood box full of honey side to side, and the first brood box to have 2 frames of honey on the outside each, a frame of pollen on each side, and then 3 or 4 frames of brood. So I think I'm going to inspect the top box just to see how it's going, and then obviously look for the queen, hope that they're filling this with honey, and find her. Okay, you want to do a couple puffs on the top here, Isabel? Just a couple puffs right across the top. Good. Okay, that's good. You don't have to shoot it out with such force, because you don't want to hurt the bees. You can imagine getting that in your face. It wouldn't be too pleasant for you. Okay, so again, hoping that they're doing honey on the outside, and they are so far. Beautiful capped honey. And we're going to look for the queen just in case. See, so this side again is just 50% capped, so it's not great. This side here is beautiful. Look at this side.
Dad,
Yes, dear.
I found a drone.
What?
It's still got its wings on.
Yep.
It's still alive.
Yep, they are starting to get rid of them.
Could I kill it?
No, no, no. You don't need to kill it. Let the bees and or nature take its course, okay? We don't need to interfere that way. Already interfering enough. Okay, again, here's another frame of honey. Not completely capped though. I'd give this about 50% on my side. On your side, well, a little more, maybe 60-70% on this side. Friends are nice. Okay. So here's another frame that looks like it's mostly honey. At some point I'm going to have to decide in the next couple of weeks whether or not these bees can survive in 2 brood boxes, or it's better to just go with 1. There's a decent number of bees, I think. Although there don't seem to be that many in this brood box, there are. So that's another honey frame that's in the process of being capped. And again, if we find that they've got all the honey they need, or the syrup they need, that may be why they're not finishing off that syrup. And this frame is pretty light. A couple of queen cells being started here. Still some drone comb there. So this pretty much, it's got a little bit of pollen in it, but not much else. Here there are 3 queen cells on this side that are either being started or were old. So again, there's no point for those queen cells. And there's a queen cell on this side too. You see it right there near the bottom, middle? I'm going to take them out. There's no point for them. Even if they try to make a new queen, there's no way they're going to get that queen impregnated and laying. So I'm just going to get rid of those queen cells. I guess they're queen caps right now. And again, that frame, it isn't even completely drawn out. See how at the bottom of the frame, which is your top now, they haven't even gotten it completely drawn out. So not the best sign at this time for this hive. Okay, so here's a frame of brood that I brought from the next hive over, and they are capping it some more, so that's good. I'm going to try and see if I can see some eggs in here. Well, you know, it looks like they've put a lot of honey in wherever there was not brood, at least on this side. Hang on, I got to put the sun on. I do see eggs here.
Oh, I think Tara got done. Okay.
Yep.
I think Tara just got done.
Yeah, I see some eggs on that side. On this side, there's some larvae. Just looks like they've put a lot of nectar in where you were hoping that the new queen would lay. And it really doesn't look like she has. So we're going to end up moving this frame down below anyway. Because we want that all to hatch out and then leave an empty area for them to nest in over the winter. Keeping an eye out for the queen, hopefully. Okay, this is all... Well, here's the thing. Here's a second brood frame, and I did not put this brood frame in. The second brood frame that I put in is below. So the queen is laying, yes, and she does have a yellow dot, Isabel. So look for her. Yeah, there's lots of larvae on this frame. And there are eggs as well. So this is a nice frame. I'm going to show you this here. This is a very nice frame of brood, larvae, and eggs with honey around the sides. So that one is done by the new queen.
I'm gonna go test that.
Go for it, huh? You want to take him up to the car? Just have a look in his fur to make sure the bee isn't stuck in his fur. Oh yeah?
Pretty sure it killed it.
All right, and more larvae, or sorry, more capped brood. This is excellent. Okay, so this queen is laying. She's laying in the second brood box, which is less than ideal, but it's not a horrible thing. I guess I could move all these brood frames down below if I really wanted to. So here on this side, you can see there's every stage. There's capped larvae, there's larvae, and there's some eggs on the outside. Still some drones kicking around too. Okay, so that's a really good sign because this hive needs new bees for the winter, right? It also needs more honey and pollen even to feed those new bees when they come out. But at least we know the queen is laying and they're capping her brood, which is a really good sign. And there's some more new brood here, which is very good. And it'd be nice to see the queen, and it'd be nice to see these bees bringing in more pollen. We've got goldenrod just going nuts right now. Just looking for eggs in here. My wife gave me a magnifying glass, which I probably left at home. Okay, I didn't see any eggs in there, but lots of larvae. And now we should be getting into honey frames again here. Okay, so you do see some leftover drone comb from the previous drone laying worker. And there's plenty of nectar in here. It's a pretty heavy frame, so hopefully this is one that they can cap off in a couple of weeks. Okay, so we haven't seen the queen up here, so hopefully she's down below, and that might mean that we've got some more brood happening below. So what I'm going to do is remove this entire box as it is, put it on the lid on the floor, and then start to remove frames from below, and hopefully there are frames that don't have brood in them that I can put the brood from the top frames in so that most, if not all, the brood is on the bottom. And again, the reason for that is just more or less to get them set up for winter. Wow, still not ready to come apart this hive. Squished a couple bees there. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so I'm going to put this upper brood box on the outer lid here. And then have a look down below. Still lots of drones. I'll adjust the camera for you here for a sec. There is a ton of bee activity out here. It's like they know, as we do, that you're getting into those last few days where the weather's going to turn on us soon and winter will be upon us. A very empty frame here. So again, this is a frame that should be closer to the middle. They've got just a little bit of honey in this, but not much of anything. And that's an outer frame, so they need to depend on that outer frame for insulation. They need it thick with honey, and they need it to be capped. So that's not a good frame for the outside. So I'm going to keep that outside here and determine a better place for it. Again, this next frame feels light as well, so yeah, nothing much on this frame either. Just all old brood comb from the previous drone laying worker. Looks like another empty frame right beside it. So, I mean, if nothing changed the way things are right now, it looks like what I would do with this frame, if today were the day that I was finalizing everything for winter, is that I would probably combine the bees into one chamber, into the lower brood chamber, because you can see there's this should be another frame that's full of honey. There's a little bit of pollen, a little bit of nectar, not really much of anything. Keep them all outside, and I will do a bit of a rearrangement here. I mean, it does mean the queen has a lot of places to lay. Another very empty frame. Not much of anything on it. Okay, keep that in because we're running out of space outside the hive. Okay, now here's a frame that's full of brood. That's good. So this is the new queen's brood. And this might be a frame that the queen is on. So I'm going to take a close look for her. There she is. There she is, right in the middle. Hey Isabel, do you want to see the queen, honey? Let's see what she's doing. Hopefully she's laying. See here, she's laid kind of the outside of a circular pattern. Do you see? You see the pattern of the cap brood here? Usually she starts in the middle and works her way out, but I am seeing a lot of nectar in the middle of this frame. So again, not sure why the queen is deciding to do it the way she's doing it, but I'm going to put her back in now. Want to see the queen, huh? It's okay. she's laid this brood here. It's not a great pattern, so I'm watching her. She hasn't laid any eggs. She's kind of just surveying the place. Maybe she's being bossy here.
Paid off a big face.
I don't speak English. It's not well. Just going to watch her for a bit more just to see if she sticks her butt in the cell and drops an egg. Here she is. I'll bring her closer to the camera and into the sunlight so you can see her. See her marked yellow there? Okay, I'm going to leave her alone and get back into this inspection. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put her close to this next frame so that I know I can't roll her against another frame. Okay, so I'll carry on this inspection here and just see again. Not crazy on what I've seen. She has laid some brood, which is great. It means she's going to have more bees. But again, the whole layout of her hive is not the greatest for them to survive winter. So I'm going to have to be proactive and set them up in a better way. And I think that's going to mean going down to one brood box. There's still tons of space. Like this is maybe 50% filled with nectar, 50% empty. So, and of course they could move that nectar around. If the queen wanted to lay down here, I'm thinking she could order her minions to do the work for her. But she's not, for whatever reason. So the queen's only been in here just under 2 weeks, and she has been laying, which is great. Here's another cell of absolute nothingness, another frame of nothingness. Just a little bit of nectar, but not much of anything useful. And then again, it surprises me that they haven't eaten all that sugar water, because they can either use it for themselves or they can store it. There's tons of room for them to store it to make honey. But I think what we're looking at is a hive that will only survive the winter if we go down to one brood box. This next frame is full of honey, but I can't pull it out. So I think what I will do is I'm just going to leave it as it is. I'm not going to make any major changes. She's got a ton of room to lay in the bottom and the top. And we've got another 2 weeks before the weather turns cold. So basically, I'm going to give them another 2 weeks, and then probably by that time they will have gotten rid of, or will be continuing to get rid of, a lot of drones. So there will probably be more space in the hive.
I would just rolled one on the red ant hive. And now we've got
So, what was I saying? Yeah, so in a couple of weeks, I'll come back to them and then decide how I shrink their hive down into one. Again, the plan being that you'd have honey like this beautiful frame on the outside. Oh, guys, I don't want to squish it. Get moving. Good.
I'm going to head back to the car.
Okay, sweetheart.
Power.
Yeah, so honey, 2 frames of honey on the outside, a frame of pollen. I don't see much pollen in here either. And then the nesting chamber in the middle where they can regulate their heat from. So that's it for now. I won't bother you with the closing of this. I am going to pour some 2-to-1 sugar water into there, into the feeder. I do not know why so many bees died here. This is very, very strange. I've never had any bees die on one of these feeders. And look at this. No clue why that happened. Now, the good thing again about having multiple hives is that I did the exact same feed with the exact same feeder on this hive, on the hive over here. So I'm going to check that one out and see if that one's okay, because maybe it was a problem with the sugar water, or who knows. Anyway, if I find anything out, I will let you know. Thanks for joining me, Frank and Isabel and Tower at 40 Honeybee.